I just want to say I'm Linda Silverstein. I'm in charge of remarketing for Ford Motor Company. I have the honor this afternoon of being able to ask my really good friends in the business to talk a little bit about who they are and talk a little bit about the companies that they represent. And I think that the reason I was selected is because year after year I stand up here and tell you guys how much I love the auction business and how valuable the auctions are to us consigners that have to remarket our vehicles. And we're very grateful that we have such great partners that invest a lot of money into making it the best possible, most efficient system to dispose of our assets and turn them into cash. And for those of you that know me well, you will know that I have often referred to as an auction as a bank, because that auction takes my asset, turns it into cash, and gets me the cash rather quickly, and then takes on the responsibility of collecting the money from the buyer. So to me, the auction process is the best process in the world, and it's my honor to have an opportunity today to ask Sandy Schwartz of Manheim, Bob McConkey, who's representing the independent dealers, and Tom Caruso to tell us a little bit about themselves. I do have questions, but there's mics in the room, so there's going to be an opportunity for all of you to ask them your questions as well. I'm going to start with Sandy, if that's okay. Sandy, tell us what your qualifications are to come and run a company like Manheim. I know you, but a lot of people in this room don't know you, and you've been rather the newbie in this business, and I think everybody would like to understand, how did you get this job? This is a pretty esteemed job.
Linda, I think that's a great question. I have absolutely no qualifications whatsoever to be running this company, so let's start with that. First of all, it's an honor to be here with both of you, and it's an honor to be with so many people who care so much about the business like you do, Linda, so thank you for having me. I've been with Cox Enterprises, I said this yesterday morning, for 26 years. I use this line all the time. It's my 14th job with Cox, and I keep thinking I'm moving up. My wife keeps saying I can't hold down a job. I think that there are two answers to your question. One is I am very, very fortunate to work for a family company that's been in business over 100 years, a company that's very diversified in cable, media, and automobile. Autotrader.com has reported up to me for about the last 7 years, so clearly I've learned a lot about the auto business. I learned a lot when I took over. We had a partnership with Landmark on our Autotrader magazine, so that really was the entry into it. I've been on the Autotrader board for a long period of time. I have to tell you, though, what I think, or I don't know that I can tell you I'm qualified, but I think what my boss and what Jim Kennedy, our CEO, felt in terms of being qualified is, for me, this is really about leadership. Clearly, we have to know about our business. I am so fortunate and blessed to work with so many great people at Manheim. I know about this much about the business compared to the people I'm looking at in the room today. And really, I'm just the lucky one that gets to lead them and the lucky one that gets to charge them up and at times make decisions. And right now, we're making a lot of decisions, like both of you are, in terms of investments and the things we have to do for the future. But I really think if I were to sum up and say one thing, I've been really fortunate to be in a position with Cox where I've run a number of companies and where the leadership, I think, is really the most important part. The only other thing I would say is I took our media companies at a time when they were really in distress and really changing. And look, this business has changed dramatically, is going to change. And I think that some of the qualifications perhaps our owners saw in me was being able to help move a business forward in a different time. And so I'm pretty bold. I'm a real people guy. You can see I don't wear suits very often, don't wear neckties very often. When I go out to an auction, I make sure that I can shake every single employee's hands. I like to do that with all of our customers. In the end, for me, it's really asking a lot of questions. And if I have one trait that I think is a decent trait, it goes back to my days as a reporter, is I just love asking questions and finding out more.
Great, thanks. I really appreciate that. Well, Tom Caruso is from Boston, and I'm from Boston, too. So I know how a girl from Boston got to the head of vehicle remarketing, but now I'd like to know how a guy from Boston got to the head of an Indianapolis-based company like ADESA.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I guess for me, it really started, really just, with my parents. I think that was the key. They instilled in myself and my sisters, family first and work hard. And if you do that, good things will come. So I guess for me, that's really kind of the foundation for me. Then, I've been in the auction business a long time. And, like Sandy, I'm a people person. I really enjoy people. I love our employees. And for me, going out to our sites is just a great thing. Having employee meetings, last week I went to one of our sites and they thought that undercover boss was there. Everybody thought the cameras were coming in, and but I'll tell you what, it's just a great industry. And when I look out too, when I look out, I don't really see competitors. I don't see business partners. I see a lot of friends out there. So for me, again, it's more of a humble beginning. Work hard and really just enjoy the people you're with.
Well, I like that answer too. And you know, the thing is, it is a people business, and I think that Tammy said that earlier. You know, if you work hard and you treat people right, it really is the way that the business is successful. And we all have choices as consignors of where we do our business. And so I think that it always wins out when you have people that take care of you. And Bob has agreed to represent the independent auctions today. So I'd like to ask Bob first to tell us about how he got in the auction business, because he has a rich history in the auction business too, and then to tell us about why he thinks he was picked to represent the other independent auctions today.
Well, I have no idea why I was picked. So I think that that's the first answer. I think as I stand up here or sit up here with these two gentlemen, I think that I really represent 160 or so faces out there that are the independents, and I'm honored to be able to do that today. And so I thank you, whoever decided that would be my role today. I appreciate. In terms of my I've been in the business really all of my life, with a very short stint out of the business. My father was one of 4 partners in 1954 that founded the South Seattle Auto Auction. And in 1960, he went on a moose hunting trip, and when he came back, the locks had been changed, and he was a minority partner, and he had been thrown out of his business. 6 months prior to this, there was an auctioneer, my dad, who was just a hard worker, and 2 car dealers that owned the business. And the 2 car dealers decided, first time they came to my dad and said, the auctioneer doesn't do anything, let's take him out of the deal, and you'll be the our partner, our operating partner. And he said, Bill Johnson's been my friend, he got me into this business, I'm not going to do that. And so he went on his moose hunting trip, and they had the same speech with Bill Johnson while my dad was gone, and they locked him out of his own business. And when he came back, they said, you're no longer a partner, but for $1,000 a month, you can be our general manager. And I was 6 months old at the time. My brother was 6 years old at the time. And my dad rented 2 acres across the street and set up a circus tent, and and they'd been in business for 6 years. This was in 1961, and opened up on the same day at the same time in a circus tent in the mud against him, and put him out of business. And then he walked back across the street and opened his auction back up. So it was about survival, and it's a great story. I'm proud of my father. He's passed away now, but it's a great story. And we fast forward into the 1980s. This whole industry started out as an independent-based industry. There was a huge acquisition run, and we were caught up in that in the 1980s. And in 1985, our business was sold to GE Capital. I started in 1980. If we might recall 79, 80, big-time recession, I was at WSU going to school my freshman year. I came home, and my dad said, we need to have a family meeting. And whenever he had a family meeting, it usually wasn't just to celebrate something. So he sat us down and said that we were going broke, and asked me if I would quit school and come into the business. I was 18 years old at the time. My brother was already in the business, and that started my career. At that point in time, I was 18. I went to auctioneer school. I became the recon manager and the fleet lease manager, and my brother ran the books, and we pulled it together, and we basically saved the business, and we sold it to GE in 1985, and then I began a corporate career in the auction business in Southern California, and then came back as an independent in 1992. So I'm 51 years old, and I've done this for 33 years, so I don't know much else, but with the exception of a time I spent about 3 years out of the business as an auctioneer and a business development person for Sotheby's International Realty, doing real estate auctions around the country, which was an interesting time, but I missed the business and got back into it in 92.
Wow, and I thought I knew Bob before today. Who knew? That is a really incredible story. So, but Bob, I'm going to put you on the spot again because I'd like you to describe to the group, if you would, the relevance of the independent auction in the current future landscape of remarketing.
That's a great question because I think it's a question that we continue to ask ourselves, and I think we get asked by our customers. How relevant are we? And the independents are a very diverse group. You've got independents that operate out of a niche, and that niche might be a very small niche where they're not really committed to maybe the latest in technology, and they've got a nice little dealer base. And then you've got a group that's really growing and is a really robust group of independents that have made an investment decision to compete head-on with my buddies here that I feel like a little sandwich right now. I feel like a corporate sandwich, but I'm kind of comfortable with it. So, but there's a group of us that have made a decision that we are going to compete, and as Tommy said, you know, I feel like I'm competing with some of my best friends. I spent time with Manheim, and I spent time with GE, which transitioned into Manheim, and so these people are my friends, but we compete, and so. The independents have a rich history, and I was really, I'd never met Sandy until yesterday morning to watch his presentation, listen to him in the video, and the way he really seemed to get the fact that the industry has a very rich history. And the rich history that is the auction industry is exclusively out of the independents. The auction industry evolved through acquisition. There are very few greenfields that were started by ADESA and Manheim. They really came, the industry came through acquisition. So our history is very rich, and history is important. You know, U.S. history is important, our family heritage is important, and where we work, I think the history is important, but it goes beyond that to where are we going. And for the independents, as I sit here over the last 15 years, I knew I could probably pick up the phone if I really got tired of this thing and sell my business. And those options aren't like they used to be. So as independents, with our investments, we have to protect them at a whole different level than we did over the run of the auction business, so to speak. And so investments in technology, we have bound together as independents because we needed a footprint that was regional and then maybe national. The Independent Auction Advisory Committee, we have ServNet as a subgroup that works very closely together. We now have a broad range of consulting opportunities that are brought to us by TPC, who has found a strong niche in keeping us relevant in the auction business. Through that relationship, we've developed what is now going to be rolled out as the Auction Academy, which is really our form of an MBA for the auction business for the future industry leaders that are, you know, 20, 22, 25, 26 years old that are committing to this business to be trained not just by their parents but to be trained by true professionals. And so, and we're committed to technology. We're committed to technology. Manheim and ADESA are, they see where it's going. We see where it's going also. And we credit Manheim and ADESA with such good technology. We credit them with the retraining of the dealers and the remarketers and towards what to expect. And but we tend to know that it's tough to be first sometimes. Costs a little more money to be first sometimes, and so we have a very, very specific technology agenda that is a full consolidation of the majority of the independents that'll be rolled out here in the next several months. So we see our future and our relevance is very, very, very bright. And the acquisitions of the 80s left the independents primarily in secondary markets. The primary markets now, the big metro markets, are taken by ADESA and Manheim, and we exist primarily in these secondary markets. And those are good niche markets that need to be served for the U.S. market.
Great, thank you. Tommy.
Yes.
I'm sure everybody in this room would like to know how the integration of ADESA and OpenLane is going.
Oh, it's going great, Linda. It really is. I think everyone knows that we acquired OpenLane in October, and I've been working very close with Peter Kelly, who's the CEO of OpenLane, and it's just going great. The integration is ahead of schedule. We've made some major changes really in the last 60 days. We formed one dealer sales and services group under Tim Zerden. And on the commercial side, we've got one team now that's headed up by Jason Ferreri. We also have the marketing. We put the OpenLane and ADESA's marketing together. That's headed up by Carol Sewell. And Carol and and Jason report up through Bob Rauschenberg. So it's great. It was some technology that we needed at ADESA. It's been really well received by our customers and the dealers, so it's going ahead of schedule, and it's great.
Great, thanks. I'm glad to hear that. So Sandy, my favorite question, which you know I always have to ask this question, so I'm going to ask it to Sandy, the newbie. How do we keep buyers in the lanes as the world shifts to this high-tech world?
We've never had that discussion, have we?
No.
I think that there are a number of ways we keep buyers in the lane. First of all, I think we have to credit, and you and I have had this discussion, and understand that buyers bidding live on cars is what's most important. We clearly need buyers in the lanes. But I think that we have to worry less about manipulating where the buyers are and more about making sure that our product and our services and everything have these pressure points where people want to be there. Now, while I say that, I also think that there is, you know, I am the newbie to this business, but I've been to a number of auto auctions in my life. There is nothing like being at a live auction. I don't care what anybody says. There's nothing as great for our business as being a live auction. If it were up to me, I would sell every single car I could in the lane. Unfortunately, that's not the way the world's going. But I think we have to do a number of things. I think, first of all, this is going to sound corny, but we have to work at making our auction exciting. We have to work at making sure that when people come there are things that are going on, and that there's a lot of stuff going on in the lanes, and that we're serving people the way we do. I think that technology is a great thing, but one of the things we did this last year, which I talked about yesterday morning, was making sure all of our employees understood technology. When someone walks in the door and says, you know, I've got this loaded on my smartphone, but I'm not really sure how to do this, they're now in technology, but they're there. And so how do we deal with that person? How does every single person at our auction, and both, you know, if your auctions, I know you feel the same way, how do we get them bought in and understand what they can do while they're there? I think the other thing is, you know, one of the things you talk about heritage, Bob, which I think is so important, we every once in a while need to stop and think about the things that this business has done for its communities. And think about the money we've raised for charity and the things, the jobs we've given people, the people who detail cars. I mean, all the way through. And I think one of the things we have to do is continue to pound the drum and understand that this industry has contributed so much, you know, to the American fiber. I mean, in so many ways. And I think that we have to maybe be a little more boisterous than we've been in the past about that. It's kind of funny. When I first came into Manheim, we were doing something. I see Mike McConkey back here, who's really active in one of our charities, and he said, hey, you know, he said, we're getting ready to use this warehouse and so forth, but we usually don't do news releases because, you know, we're a wholesale business. We don't and I said, you got to be kidding me. I want our name out everywhere. I want people to know what we're doing. And I think that we have to tell ourselves it's okay. Yes, you know, we're a wholesale marketplace, but we do a lot of things inside there, and I think we have to make it exciting while it's there. We aren't ever going to make someone who's, you know, I hate to use age, but who's 30 years old and wants to buy cars on his computer. We're never probably going to get them there, but there are a lot of people who want to be there. And, you know, it's almost like the Starbucks experience. You got to make it really interesting. So I think we have many years before us where people want to come and they want to bid on cars and they want to see cars. They want to kick the tires. They feel they can do it better than the other guy. But I think we have to work at making our auctions more exciting than maybe we have in the past.
Wow, you know that was music to my ears. I don't know about the rest of you consigners out there, but thank you. That was great. Tommy, will ADESA continue to build and buy auctions?
In the right location. That's something that we look at really on a daily basis. We'll look at the map and say, you know, where do we have a void? And if you know, and also we talk to our customers, and if our customers say, you know what, there is a need in a certain location, we will do it. Whether we purchase one or build a greenfield, we will still continue to do it. We just recently built a new sale here in Las Vegas. It was a greenfield, and we opened it up last year, and it's just doing great. So to answer your question, we will if it's in a strategic market that makes sense for us.
Great, great. So Bob, you know, the economy's been really tough for the last few years, and I know that it's been tough on everybody. There's been a lot of downsizing, a lot of consolidation, and all of that. Can you talk a little bit about the independents and how they have fared during this, you know, difficult time?
I think the, you know, it seemed like in the economy in general that debt is what sunk a lot of people, and I think that so, you know, there are a few independents that didn't do so well. My own personal experience is that we've had a really, we've had a good run. 2008 was, the end of 2008 was a disaster for all of us. And as we rolled into 2009, you know, things started to pick up. And actually, I think we got a false sense of security because we still had a lot of cars out there that were being repossessed. And by the time we got into last year and the year before, 10 and 11, you know, our markets shrunk. But I believe that the independents, you know, they tend to run, as a culture, we're not very top heavy. And so we tend to run with our boots on the ground pretty much. And so I don't think that we had as much leaning out to do maybe as other businesses within the industry and other businesses outside of the industry. And so we've been able to maintain ourselves pretty well. And then from a market share perspective, we've actually done very well as a group. A lot of our auctions have gained market share. A lot of our auctions have actually had, record years. Some of my friends have had record years. I'm not one of them, unfortunately, but I've got buddies who have had really good years. But our sale in Kansas City actually is on a 25% growth pace over last year right now, and so continuing to gain momentum. And so we've done really good, I think. And one of the things that I know a lot of my constituents kind of share, and our premise as we went through this, was that everything we did to survive initially, we tried to make invisible to the customer, and that the service levels and the little things that were important to the customer, that we made sure that whatever we did was invisible to the customer. I have people now that they might check titles 3 days a week, and they'll actually work in check-in to get their hours. And those are the types of things that we've done that we never did before. And we let our staffs kind of primarily shrink through attrition. And so things that we do on the promotional side, we haven't moved the needle at all. A lot of you are aware, in my particular case, we do this rock and roll sale. It's a $300,000 promotion. And with the volumes off 25%, you know what? It's still a $300,000 promotion, and it still works. And it is, you talk about the ability to make the auction exciting. That's a pretty exciting deal, to stand up, with all your buddies and hold hands and sing songs with Huey Lewis is kind of fun. And we're not going to stop doing that kind of stuff. And I think we've remained very innovative, and I think we've taken risks. One of my good friends, Jeff Barber, just recently, the GM sales have been, the GM's pricing's been aggressive. The dealers have been resisting that. And last month, because of the relationship and because of the aggressive nature and wanting to do things innovative, it's almost like it's almost like reverse innovation. Jeff said, I think it might have been his 25th anniversary with General Motors, and he went to Dan Kennedy and said, I got an idea. You're having 30 to 50% conversion rates. The dealers are resisting. I want to have an absolute sale. I'll guarantee the number at 100% of your floor, and I want to turn off the internet. And what had gone from a typical 130, 140 dealers, 10 years ago on site to buy 500 cars had dwindled down to 25 and 30 and maybe 70 online. He had 140 dealers at the sale for 400 cars, and he beat the residual number for GM by a lot and had a 100% sale. And that took some guts and some innovation.
Wow.
So
congratulations, Jeff.
That was a pretty good move. And so, I'm proud of my buddies. That was a good one.
That was a good one. So are you going to give us any insight to who's going to be at the Rock and Roll Sale this year?
Well, if I knew, I would tell you.
Oh, okay.
But we actually had a deal confirmed that blew up because we try to really have the original act. And the guy that was really the mainstay of the original act had heart problems, and the promoter just said, they sound the same without him. And we said, $100 grand's a lot for a tribute act, and so we're not going to do that. So now we're back to the drawing board, but I'll guarantee it'll be a great show. It's the third week in July, and you're invited.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to be there. All right, so Sandy, your turn again. How much business do you believe will move to the digital channels over the next few years?
Well, great question, and I think that we all have crystal balls. We're going to see at Manheim this year, we think somewhere around 30% of our business in some digital channel. I mentioned yesterday morning, the thing that I am most amazed at today is how fast mobile is growing. I mean, we are seeing it grow at 3, 4, 5 multiples faster than when we first started just using the computer. And so I think that could make it go faster. I still, I said this yesterday, you might call me a Pollyanna or think that I'm, wishful thinking, but I still think we're going to get to about 50-50 in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and I think it's going to level off for a while. I really do. I think that there are cars that belong in the auction, and there are cars clearly that can be sold before they get to the auction, before they get moved, before anything happens. And so I think somewhere in there, I think though what is going to happen is it's not going to look like it does today. I think we're going to see a lot more dealer-to-dealer networks. We're going to see social networking. We're going to see cars being traded in different ways. And we're going to see cars moving in ways we haven't thought of yet. I think that's going to be technology driven. But I still think we are going to get a number of cars that are going to go through the lane and a lot of cars that are sold much earlier in the funnel and much differently than we see them today. In the end, and this is my public service announcement for all of us up here, in the end, it's still how we do business, and I still believe we can be in the middle of those transactions and be very, very useful in doing so for the people who are trying to sell cars and people trying to buy cars.
Do Bob or Tom have anything that they'd like to add about where they think that the internet or technology is going to take us?
I really agree with Sandy. I think that's pretty much the point where we're predicting. So.
Okay.
You answer that well.
Linda, one last thing. I think Bob captured this really well. One of the things I think that you talked about the first time I met you that I think we have to think about a lot as channels change and so forth is that we can't still do everything we've always done. One of the things during these last 2 or 3 years as we've really reset the business is we've asked a lot of our people at Manheim, and I know you guys have too, we've asked people to do a lot more. Cross-training you talk about is exactly something we've all done. But I think sometimes we have to look and say, what are we still doing that we shouldn't be doing? Mm-hmm. And what do we have to take off the bottom to make our business stronger? And I think that, again, people have a breaking point. We all have great, great employees. We have to make sure that we're giving them the time to do the job they have to do, to cut down on mistakes and also to be creative in what they're trying to do.
Great. Okay. So, Tommy, you became the president and CEO of ADESA in 2009. Can you share with the audience what it's been like since you took the helm?
Well, I always tell everybody, Jim Hallett's a pretty smart guy. He knew when to throw me the keys, just when volumes were going down. But, one thing, at ADESA, we kind of saw the volumes taking a dip, probably almost 4 or 5 years ago. And, with the great work of Tom Contos and others. So, we made some hard decisions back 4 years ago. And we took some heat from, we made some of those changes. There were some cutbacks, but, it really helped us weather the storm the last couple of years at ADESA. So, I would just say, the team at ADESA, we've been together now since '05. Everybody knows their role, and for us, it's great. Everyone just puts their head down and goes at it. So, again, it's been a interesting couple of years in the industry, but I think we've weathered it very well, and we just appreciate everybody's business. So.
Great. So, Sandy, what would you say the auction of the future looks like? Well,
I think that the auction of the future looks a little bit like the auction of today, but much, much more technological. Two, I think that we have to get comfortable at the auction of the future perhaps doing things that we've never done before in terms of going out and doing condition reports remotely, which we all do, but doing the types of things that I think we're pretty used to the business coming to us and then working really hard when it gets there and having great processes. I think in the future we're really going to have to learn how to do some of these things in a different way. I think the other thing, which I talked about yesterday morning, is I do believe the line between retail and wholesale is getting closer. And I think that we really have to understand where we play, where the retail people play, sometimes where we might be playing together. In our case, we have Autotrader.com, which is the biggest retail marketplace, and we have Manheim. So I think the auction of the future is going to probably be a little more flexible than it is today. We're probably going to cross some lines in some ways that we aren't. And then most importantly, again, all of us would agree that we just have phenomenal employees. And I say this in the greatest love for my employees, but we are going to change. We have already changed, and some people can make that jump and some can't. And I think that what we're going to see in the future are people coming in this business who perhaps weren't in the auto business for years and years, but they have other great skills, and we're going to need to do that. We're going to need to recruit more people in doing that. For me, diversity is just extremely important, something that we embrace at our company, something you embrace at your company. But really, we're going to have to be more diverse in terms of thought and in terms of of the types of people that we kind of allow into our business. So I think we'll be seeing different faces and different types of experiences that we had in the past.
I agree with that, definitely. Okay, well, before I turn it over to the audience, I'd like to give each one of you an opportunity to answer something that you might be thinking about inside. If there's something that I didn't ask you today that you'd like the audience to know either about you that they can take away with you, because remember the topic was, who are you? So if there's something that you want to share about who you are that you want everybody to know, or maybe you don't want everybody to know, and if there's anything about your particular companies that you would like somebody to know, and then after each of you have had an opportunity to say what you want to say, and I'll start with Tom, then we'll open it up for audience questions, because I know you guys didn't all come here because you didn't have something on your mind, and I'm sure I didn't ask all the questions that were on your mind today. So, Tom?
All right, no, thanks, Linda. I know I was a little brief in my first answer. I don't like to talk about myself that much, so I was a little brief about my background. But prior to becoming the CEO of ADESA, I was the chief operating officer. So kind of during those tough times, we had to make those tough decisions. But prior to that, I ran ADESA's largest single business unit in Boston for over 20 years. So again, I've been doing it for a while. But something that the group doesn't know about me, most people know about me.
Well, there are people here. There are people here,
Nope.
Believe it or not, that may not have met you.
No, I know, no. And I'm just trying to think if there's something that's...
Tom, we got a few things we'd like to tell about you.
That's okay.
Just kidding.
Yeah, no, that's all right, Sandy. But, you know,
What's your favorite restaurant?
my favorite restaurant?
Yeah.
Is our restaurant. Linda and I, you know, it's fun. It's you know, Linda grew up in the town next to me back in Massachusetts, and we were talking one day about a restaurant, and I said, my favorite restaurant's in Brookline, Mass. And she said, so is it mine. Next thing you know, it's we both, it's our favorite restaurant, so we always talk about it. That's good.
He didn't even give a plug for them. It's the Golden Temple in Brookline. So if you go visit,
Right.
if you go visit the Boston Auto Auction, you want to go to the Golden Temple in Brookline, but you have to like Chinese food. Okay, Bob, tell us something about you or your business.
Well, okay, hang on a second.
He's getting undressed for us, you guys. We've already seen this.
He did not warn me that he was going to do this. I just want you to know.
Gonzaga plays West Virginia. And
So that's something if you didn't know, you should know that Gonzaga is going to beat West Virginia at 4:30. And Charlotte Pyle is a West Virginia girl. Gonzaga is my team. And Charlie Vogelheim is a graduate of Gonzaga. And so we have this thing where this is very important. In fact, it allows Charlie and I to get together several times a year. We were even here last week. And I love Vegas. I really don't love Vegas, but I was here last week because of the basketball tournament. So, anyway, I can tell you in all seriousness that one thing that I would probably want to say that on behalf of the independents is that in my role as the president, I really felt strongly about a spirit of what we called cooperative competition within the industry. And with Manheim and ADESA and the way the independents function within them is that the independents look to them for leadership. We look to them for direction. We look to them for the trends. We draft off of you guys in many respects. And the relationship is very important. And I know we compete, and I know that there's only so many cars out there, but I think it's important for the industry to recognize that the independents that are in the game, and they're playing hard, and they do look to Manheim and ADESA in terms of where you guys think the industry is going, because where you think it's going to go is probably where it's going to go because of the sheer force of the market and the fact that you're training our dealers on what to expect and what to go down the road, and we need to meet and exceed those expectations, and we feel as independents we can do that. But it is the leadership of Manheim and ADESA in many respects that we look to, and I know that maybe not everybody in the room that's an independent would agree with me, but I believe that's the truth. And beyond that, I've been around a long time. I know a lot of people. I love the industry. I plan to stick with it. I've got 3 sons that God willing, they're going to be in the industry. And this is my passion. It's a lot more than a job. It's what I love to do.
Great. Sandy?
Well, my answer is not dissimilar in Bob's for a couple of reasons. First of all, I'm a Buckeye from Ohio State.
Well,
And,
once we beat these guys, you know who we play next?
Seeing that you, if you win, then you're going to get beat before you go home, on Saturday in the tournament. So I think that's a lot of fun. But I don't have an Ohio State shirt on right now. Linda, the one thing that really isn't about me or about our company, I'm a really, really, really competitive guy. And I believe, I made this comment the other day, my kids and my family don't play board games with me because, I either win or I get mad, one of the two. And I really do believe that every single car belongs to Manheim, and I believe that we're going to do that. All that said, I really believe one of the things we can all do better is work as an industry. I think there are some things we just have to fight and claw and elbow each other, and I think all three of us will do that, and we'll do it in a classy way, and we'll do it in the way it should be done. But in the end, the industry will lose if we don't act the right way, but more importantly, if we really don't find some things that we have common ground on to do them better. There are some technology things we ought to be developing ourselves, we should be doing. There are some that we ought to be thinking about as a group. Condition reports, a lot of things, and that's going to benefit us as a whole. Then we can go fight for the cars. But we really we have got to make sure, and I think that we have to listen to you and everyone else in this room, the issues that you have. And there are places where we really do need to play together. We need to do that really, really well. And then there are places we'll go off and fight our own battles. And, I've been in a lot of different businesses in my life. This is no different than the other ones. In the media business, it's the same thing. You fought really hard in your market, but there were some things that were just really important. And I think that I look forward to doing that over the years that I'm in this job. I've met so many great people in 11 months who've been so great to me and welcomed me with open arms. And I really, really appreciate that. And I think that we've just got to, I think that Charlotte and Frank, need to help us lead the charge. There are some things we just have to do as an industry, and we'll all be better for it. I really believe that.
I couldn't agree more. The NAAA plays a very valuable role for all of us here, and I think for those of you that heard Tammy, I think that when you come together as a group, you have a very loud voice, and so everybody should want to be active in the NAAA because they're our voice. And having a powerful voice with the government is really, really important. And protecting these businesses that you've all invested your blood, sweat, and tears into is very important. This morning we heard from Ira and Tom Webb. We had an opportunity to hear from, and Tom Contos. And in general, I'd say our economists have said that they're pretty optimistic about what's happening in the economy. And so I'm not going to ask you to be economists because I was up here on a panel one time and they asked me to be an economist, and I thought that's kind of odd because we had really the experts sitting in our midst. So I'm not asking you to be an economist, but I'd ask you to tell us what you think is the immediate future this year for the auction business and possibly 18 to 24 months. So I'll start with Bob.
Okay. Well, I think that right now what we're seeing are conversion rates that are not sustainable. And when I was talking to Sandy, today we had near 80% conversion rate in a regular sale in Spokane, and we haven't seen anything south of 72% in 6 weeks. And if you look at the market over, and it's very cyclical, and there's always a run-up in the first quarter, and usually sometime around tax time, mid-April through May, there's a reset to a certain extent. And I think there's going to be that. I think we'll see that. And the dealers always get caught in that. Right now they're in a quandary because they need inventory so bad that they're continuing to fight for limited numbers of cars. And inventories are down, but it's a little bit of a perfect storm in that there's typically a reset in April, and then there's also rising fuel prices and a lot of SUVs that have kind of regained their prominence in the market, and large trucks. And so I think we're going to see an adjustment, and then I think that we're going to see a pretty sparse summer in terms of volume, and probably a reset that'll the market will start to take off again. And I believe our volumes will really begin to recover. To Ira's point, I'm looking for the fourth quarter to start to actually see some organic growth in the market, and then next year to really start to see some growth as some of these cars that are now being sold out in the marketplace start to come back.
Okay, Sandy?
Linda, I think Bob's right, and I'm certainly not going to be an economist with Tom Webb in the room because he's really upset with me if I try to do that. I have probably a little bit of a different theory on, same thing with the levels, but I got to tell you, I don't believe we're ever going to get back to any type of norm until America gets back to work. I am just so concerned about the jobs that have been lost or not created over the last, it's really been, 5 years, I guess. We've seen a couple of months of incremental uptick. Now, it's not a trend yet, but I'm probably a little more optimistic in the big picture, not just, that in the big picture of the next 18 months, that if we see the economy turning a little bit with jobs, that maybe our business will get a little better than we think it is. Now, I'm the eternal optimist at all times. But that is one thing to add to what Bob said that I like right now. I'm seeing some job creation, and once people get jobs, they start buying cars and things start turning. And that really gets me excited. So if there's anything out there that I see as a nugget of optimism, it's that.
Tommy?
I spent a lot of time with dealers, and I can tell you that just the way the dealers have been talking the last few months, it's pretty optimistic on the dealer side. There's a lot of traffic in the showrooms. They're trading more vehicles. So if as far as the dealers go, it's kind of I think the last couple of years have been tough on our dealers, but it's starting to come back. We're starting to see more and more dealers in the lanes. So I think when the dealers are healthy, it's good for everyone.
Great. Okay. Oh, I see somebody at the mic. Great.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. If the show Undercover Boss was to come to either one of you and ask you to participate in the show, which one of you would participate and which area of your auction would you go to, whether it be detail shop, check-in, transportation?
I'll jump on that one. And except for counting the money, I'm comfortable doing it all because I have done it all. So, I had an accountant, a bookkeeper, and her and we had a standing deal. She said, "You just don't go in the accounting room. I'll take care of it from there." She said, "You make the money, you take care of the dealers, and we'll go from there." But
sounds like my wife, Tom.
But I'd be very comfortable doing it, and I'd be honored to actually do some of those things again with our employees. So.
And they wouldn't fire you?
Huh? No, I think I could.
That show's so intimidating. They fire the boss all the time when they tell him to find another job.
Whenever I walk up to the counter and grab a title or a check, a big fire alarm goes off, and all the girls freak out and they tackle me and they don't let me touch anything. Yeah. So that's basically how. And I've never seen the show, so I'm not sure what it is, but I like doing kind of everything at the auction. I still kind of do, and so. But the funnest thing is selling the cars, and you're right, it's going to change. It continues to change, but the art of auctioneering, the art of drilling some guy into a car that didn't have any idea that he wanted it until he owns it is a beautiful thing, and it's what I wake up and what I love to do when I wake up in the morning.
I'm going to turn your question around a little bit. I mean, I feel to some degree these last 11 months I've been an undercover boss because I've really been trying to learn, and I've been trying to meet all of our employees. I've been in a lot of different places. I probably would get fired from them. I will also tell you that the folks who are here from Manheim are general managers. They cringe when they see me out there because they're like, God, what's he doing now? And who's he going to talk to now? What's he going to figure out now? I would turn the question around for a second and just say, I think we all feel the same way. We love our people, and we'd go out and do anything we'd like to learn. But I would just tell you that no matter what part of the business you run, no matter what you do with your employees, when you really think you know what's going on, there's probably 2 or 3 more levels. And I just would encourage everybody to be an undercover boss in a different way, but really get out and talk to employees. And Linda, one of the questions you asked earlier, how's the auction going to change? While I do think we have to drive this from the top, our employees see what's going on. And when I go out and talk to people and really understand what's happening, they've got a great vibe for that. And we talked yesterday about what we're trying to do in Manheim in terms of communication. I just think that you can run a company from the top, but all the great ideas come from the bottom and come up. And being able to go out and whatever you want to call it, whether it's undercover boss or just walking around, really is what's going to make us better. I know it does for us.
Yeah, that is definitely true. And Charlie has taken the bait. He's come to the mic.
I listen to you, and then I don't know if everyone knows that if they do ask a question, they're guaranteed a Ford sale. I don't know if that came out. Anyway, actually, Sandy, this is just kind of to my heart. Obviously, Manheim is part of Cox, as you mentioned, is a large company, and has gotten a few other brand names within our industry, Auto Trader and now Kelley Blue Book, all tied together. Is there any comment you can make on how it all fits and where Manheim fits?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, Auto Trader, we call it the Auto Trader Group now because we've made 4 acquisitions in the last 18 months. Kelley Blue Book, Vin Solutions, V Auto, and HomeNet. I think instead of telling you how it fits in, I mean, there are places we're going to work together. There are places we're going to stay totally separate. We do have to make sure everyone understands that Autotrader.com is owned 75% by Cox now. Providence Equity owns 25%. One of the ways we've been able to make these acquisitions, and they've come in and helped us in a lot of different ways. But I would tell you, for me, it's less about how they fit together and more the commitment that our company has to automotive. You know, when I got in the job, I was there for about a month, and someone came to me at an all-employee meeting and said, wow, you better tell the employees we're not selling the company. I'm like, we're not selling the company? What are you talking about? Well, that's the rumor. Manheim's being sold. And so, you know, of course, I stood up and told everyone we're not selling the company. Cox has no interest in that. My boss, Jimmy Hayes, who's our CEO, stood in front of the whole company. And I think that more than anything for us, it's the commitment our owners have to the automobile business, to the auto industry. And if anything, we're going to get bigger. We're not going to get smaller. This is a great business. You know, we're an international company at Manheim. We think there are a lot of global opportunities as well as the ones in the U.S. And I think that what we feel good about is that we have owners who are we're privately held, we're lowly leveraged, we have a lot of money to do what we need to do in the right way, in the right place. And I think that the commitment that our owners have shown to the automobile industry just shows that we're going to be around a long time and be able to do a lot of different things. So specifically, I don't see Manheim and Autotrader.com you know, connecting in any way. But there are places where we'll intersect, and you know, in terms of data and the intelligence we have, the market intelligence, a lot of things that we can cross-pollinate on and so forth. But really, to me, the most important thing is the dedication of our owners to this business.
Okay, last chance. Any other questions out there? Okay, well, I'd like to say to this esteemed group that it's been my honor to be your moderator. I feel very lucky to know all of you as well as I do. And as partners, you're all great partners. And I really appreciate, I'm going to say this from Ford Motor Company's point of view, I really appreciate everything that you guys have invested in terms of capital expenditures, visions for the future in terms of technology that's going to support all of us, getting the right staffing levels, the right people to service us, and really helping all of us consignors be really, really efficient in what we do. So a big thank you from us at Ford, and I think I can speak for all the consignors in the room saying a big thank you for all of them. And I think the fact that the room is full, and I've been here for 2 days now, and there was only one other speaker that commanded a full room, so I think that that's enough said from the team that this is really an important panel, and that they really do care what you have to say, and they probably all feel like you're good partners like we do. So thank you all.
Thank you. Good job, Bobby.